Hey y'all, welcome to this video, which I think I'm going to call Recommendations for Makeup Dummies. But I don't think that that title really says it all about what the video is, so I'm going to tell you right now up front what it is. Here's the thing that I've been thinking about. In my life, my real life, a lot of people ask me for makeup recommendations. And almost across the board, the people that I know in real life who are asking me for recommendations are people who I'm calling makeup dummies. Of course, I'm not calling anyone an actual dummy. It's not like they're dummies. They're just people who don't want to know anything about makeup. Like they're happy being makeup dummies. They don't want to watch beauty YouTube. They don't want to go to Sephora and talk to the salespeople. They don't want to engage in any trial and error. They don't really want to educate themselves about the makeup world, the industry, or even like color theory or any of this stuff. They just don't care. They have better things to do with their life. They want to stay makeup dummies, but they want some makeup, right? Like they want just like a lipstick or like a little bit of concealer or a recommendation about just how to just have a little something, a little routine. So sometimes they're coming to me and they're like, Hannah, look at my face and tell me if you think there's something I should be doing. So I'm going to address that a little bit at the beginning of the meat of the video, but more often they come to me and they're like, Hannah, I just want a mascara and a concealer. And I like, what should I get? What's the industry tea? Like, what's the best of the best? They just want the best of the best. And they're like, they know that I'm not a makeup dummy. They know that I'm a makeup scholar. And so they're like, you are a makeup scholar and I'm a makeup dummy. Don't give me the information. Just tell me what to buy. So that's what I'm talking about when I say makeup dummies. It's those people. And some of you out there might be makeup dummies too. Maybe you're watching me for some other reason other than like that you enjoy beauty YouTube and you're a makeup dummy and you kind of want to know like what I would say to you if you were like, give me the tea. But I think that this will be interesting even for those of you who aren't makeup dummies, because here's the thing, here's the crux of the matter. I have realized as I've thought about it that when I recommend things to my makeup dummies, love them so much, it's different stuff than what I tend to recommend the most highly to those of you out there who are fellow makeup scholars. So when I'm like kikiing with you, when I'm filming, I tend to think I'm like talking to people who are like me, like we're all in it, we're deep in it, and I'm like, let's talk about it, like deep in it together in the makeup world. Let's talk about like what's worth it and what's not and all this stuff. But when I'm talking to people who don't have big makeup collections or don't even have makeup collections at all, and they also don't really have skills and they don't really want to develop their skills, I have this whole other set of things that I recommend to them that's not the same stuff that I recommend to you. So it's just interesting, right? I want to talk about it. I want to make a video about it. And that's what this video is going to be. Oh my gosh, it's the longest introduction I've ever filmed. That's not true. I used to film really long introductions back in the day. Let's just say this is the longest introduction I've filmed since I got my introductions under control. If you're new to my channel, hi, I'm Hannah. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome. I love beautiful things, but I don't love overspending. So I'm trying to keep a balance in my life. And I'm also trying to keep a balance in my channel because I don't want to normalize overspending. So if that sounds good to you, I hope you'll subscribe to my channel. Let's go ahead now and get into the meat of the video. Okay, rolling up my sleeves. Let's get into it. Recommendations for makeup dummies. So first I want to address the first thing, right? People come to me and they're like, Hannah, is there something you think that I should be doing? And you know, no, like everyone, you're fine, you're fine, you're beautiful, you're fine. If you're happy as you are, then just proceed and it's totally fine. But when people are like, no, I really, really do want to like incorporate a little bit of stylization, a little bit of enhancement into my morning, and I just don't know where to start. Like honestly, if you could tell me two things, what would those two things be? Here are the things that I usually say. Number one, I find myself saying, do your brows. Like just do something with your brows. If you really want to do a little bit of something, especially if you want it to be like natural enhancement, like you're not going to turn into someone who is going out in a full face. You don't necessarily want it to look like you're wearing makeup, but you just want to like work a little bit with what you have. If that's really what you want and you're not doing anything so far, I always say just pay a little bit of attention to your brows. Your brows frame your face and they can make a really dramatic difference in your natural look. I dye my brows. I dyed them pretty recently and I get definition to my face with my brows by dyeing them. Like I don't put any, when they're freshly dyed for the first week or two, I don't put any product in them except for a little bit of soap to hold them. So this is what my dyed brows look like. And I have recommended to some of my makeup dummies to dye their brows because even though when you're doing it, if you don't have like really amazing hand-eye coordination, if it's a little bit of trial and error, it can be a little bit stressful when you're doing it. Then it's done. And then you don't have to do anything else. You don't have to do it every single day. So if that sounds like it would work for you, like if you don't like doing fuddly, fiddly, fuzzy things every single day and you would like to do a little something with your brows, but you know that you're not going to sit down in front of the mirror every day and like pencil them in and stuff like that, maybe consider dyeing because you can dye them just once and it'll last for like 3 weeks and then you've just gotten it out of the way and then you've done a little something to your brows and you've helped them frame your face, especially if you have lighter brow hairs or sparse brow hairs or something. Dyeing is great. Here's what I use. It's the Godefroy Tint Kit. I'll link it down below. I did film a whole video back in the day. I'm sure the production value is scandalously bad because I've come so far, but I'll link that video down below. I filmed a video of myself dyeing my brows at home so you can see how I do it if it's something that you're interested in. If you don't want to dye your brows, and you're a makeup dummy, the funny thing is, and this is really getting at the crux of the matter for this video, I often recommend the ABH brow pencil for penciling in. Like if friends have sparse brows and they really want to shape, they really want to pencil them in, I recommend it because the color range is good and it's a good pencil and it's not too waxy. So I feel like it has a good balance between being easy to use, like you can get good strokes from it, but it's not so soft that you're going to like go through it super, super fast. As you know, if you follow my channel and you're a makeup scholar, I never buy that pencil for myself and I never recommend it on my channel because it's so expensive and that's something that I consider to be a short-term staple. I do my brows with a pencil pretty frequently. When the dye starts wearing out, I use a pencil. So I go through those brow pencils. I go through a couple a year, a handful a year. And especially if I didn't dye my brows, I would go through them like one a month or one every 2 months because I would be doing it every single day. So if I were spending, what is it, like $23 or something on that short-term staple, that staple that I would be replacing over and over again, like 5 times a year, that's like over $100 a year just to pencil in your brows, and that's ridiculous. So for me, for short-term staples, for brows, for that type of thing, I'm always looking to the drugstore. So I'm like getting the one from ColourPop, but I feel like it's a bit much to ask of a makeup dummy to order from ColourPop because it's like a direct-to-consumer website. It's its whole own separate thing. You're wading into the swamp of makeup land if you're ordering from ColourPop. So when my friends come to me, I don't say like, oh yeah, the ColourPop Brow Boss is the one, because they're not going to go ordering from ColourPop. They're just going to go to the website, be intimidated, and then they're going to click out of it without buying anything, and then they're never going to do their brows. But ABH Brow Wiz, it's like, it's in Sephora, it's in your face, it's everywhere you look. They might be ordering from Sephora, like these makeup dummies, they may have ordered from Sephora a couple times before, albeit infrequently, but at least they are comfortable with that, Or maybe they're going to go to Sephora. Sometimes they're like, Hannah, I'm going to go to Sephora and I'm going to buy 2 things. What do you think they should be? Or like, I want something for my brows. So it's just more accessible and it's more obvious and it's just easier. It's easier for some people. And I know that it's like a strong, good recommendation and that they're gonna do well with it. And I feel like if you're just buying a couple things, like if you really just do your brows and mascara and a little bit of concealer, it becomes less dire that your short-term staples are expensive. It's really dire for those of us who have like 1,000 makeup. You know what I mean? We have like 1,000,000 makeup. And so we really have to manage ourselves when it comes. If you have like 4 brow pencils and you're going to want to try the one that's coming out next month, don't go spending $23 on one from ABH because it's like, it piles up, it adds up. But if it's not adding up, if you're just going to Sephora to get one thing and then you're never going to go there again for the entire year, then go ahead and get the one from ABH. Is kind of how I feel about it. However, the other brow recommendation that I often make to my makeup dummies is the CoverGirl Easy Breezy Brow. I just think that's the best of like a brush through tint and hold type of product that's on the market. It's really similar to Glossier Boy Brow, and we'll get to Glossier, believe me, because I recommend Glossier to a lot of makeup dummies. But if someone isn't going to be placing an order from Glossier, if I assess their needs, if we're chatting and it's like not a Glossier moment, then I will recommend frequently Easy Breezy Brow from CoverGirl. I think that that is a really great product. If it is a Glossier moment, I'll often recommend that they throw Boy Brow into their cart, even though it's not really my favorite product for many reasons that we've talked about. I don't feel like the hold is amazing, but a lot of times a makeup dummy doesn't want a super strong hold, just a little something something to enhance the brows a little bit. And that's what Boy Brow does. But it's also what CoverGirl Easy Breezy Brow does, and for a much lower price. Okay, the number 2 thing that I say when people come to me and they're like, Hannah, what do you think I should do in terms of makeup? I often end up saying, prime your skin. Prime your skin. Don't just go in with makeup. And this is, again, something that I rarely say on YouTube because I usually feel like I'm talking to my peeps, and we all know everyone's out there with like spackled primer all over their face. Like we're putting primer on with trowels over here. So I just don't need to say prime your skin to you guys. But when my makeup dummies come to me, I'm always like, consider the way in which you prep your skin before you put anything on it. And this is when I will go forth and recommend things that I've never talked about on YouTube. Like, for example, the Glossier Priming Moisturizer. I think that's a great product for a makeup dummy. I think that's a great product for somebody who really doesn't want much. And I object to it because I put my sunscreen on in the morning, and then I don't want to put a moisturizer on top of that. I want like a real makeup primer, like a makeup-y one. So I like the VDL Lumilayer primer because it goes on like a makeup product on top of my sunscreen, and it sits well on top of it, and it makes my entire face gleam like a soap bubble. It's like the Tin Man in a soap bubble had a baby, and that baby is my face. And so then I'm like, I have this sheen of makeup prep on top of my skincare, and it's ready to receive my other makeup. And I'm all about that, but that's because I'm all about this makeup life, right? I feel like if you're not worried about that, if you're not trying to like retain these layers and make sure that this doesn't disrupt that, slather on your sunscreen and then slather on the Glossier Priming Moisturizer on top of that, have them sort of mix together and almost be the same thing. And then your skin will be nice and dewy and plump. It's not really about priming it as like a canvas for makeup to adhere to like hold on to all of your layers of stuff that you're going to put on, because these people I'm talking to aren't going to put all those layers of stuff on. It's just made your skin look its best and protected your skin. And so then when you go in with like a little bit of concealer, a little bit of color corrector, whatever you're going to do, you're not going to get those issues like flaking and crackiness and pores looking blotchy and weird, which is the stuff that I think scares a lot of people away from makeup, because they just try a little bit of concealer and then a couple hours later they look in the mirror and they're like, my under eye is so dry, or it's like it's sticking to my flakes and stuff. So that's why I always tell people, if you're going to tiptoe into the realm of makeup, really focus on that juicy skin prep. So I've recommended the Glossier Priming Moisturizer to a lot of my friends, and they've gone ahead and have bought it and been really happy with it. The one from Good Molecules is a really good budget option, really similar. It's a priming moisturizer, something that I don't really like as a makeup aficionado. I reviewed it. I reviewed the Good Molecules Priming Moisturizer, and I was like, it's a great product, but I have no use for a priming moisturizer personally. And I besmirched it. I was like, priming moisturizer, what is this, But then, over in secret, behind the camera, I'm over here being like, oh, you want to try makeup? Prime your skin. Maybe try a priming moisturizer. A good thick application of a regular moisturizer, if you have a good daytime moisturizer, can work. So when I say to my friends, like, whatever you do, prime your skin, plump your skin, prep your skin before you put on this makeup, sometimes I'm just encouraging them to use their skincare, use a lot of it, like really pack that moisture in before proceeding to makeup. It's just, don't just wake up, rinse off your face, dry off your face, and let the water evaporate so that your skin's already kind of feeling like a desert, and then go in with makeup on top of that. That's something that I often have to just explain to people, because even though it feels like common knowledge on YouTube, it's not common knowledge in the wider world. So let's start with complexion. This is very frequently what people want. People are like, my skin, it's like, it's always red or it's blotchy or I have pimples or something. Or sometimes people have like really pretty good skin, but they're like, I just want to know, how do you use stuff? Like, how do you use skin stuff? How do you make your skin look great rather than good? Starting from absolute zero. And what I'll almost always recommend in that case is a little pot concealer like this. I like the one from NARS. This is a matte product, and I use this for spot concealing, so that's why the matte version of this type of thing works the best for me. But I think that the one from Glossier is also really good. I don't currently own it. I have owned it in the past, but I haven't owned it in years. I've recommended it though to friend upon friend upon friend, and they've all really loved it. And what I always say when I recommend it is when you're using it just to kind of like brighten up your complexion, just get a little bit on your finger and put it underneath your eye right here and in a line down, like put like spot underneath your eye and a line down and a line down, and then just blend it outward that way. So you do like a line next to your nose and then blend out until like halfway across your cheek, a line next to your nose and blend out to halfway across your cheek. And I just did a little bit there because I'm already wearing makeup, so I didn't want to like pile on a bunch more makeup. But I have friends who, on my recommendation, just on a bare but moisturized face, almost every day, just do that with a little pot product like this, and then maybe a little bit on the chin, especially if you have redness, and a little bit on the bridge of the nose and forehead, and blend it out. And that's their makeup every day. That's their complexion. And then maybe spot conceal. You can always spot conceal with a thing like this. So I have some friends who have this one from NARS, and I have some friends who have the one from Glossier, and that's just like what they do to just brighten or enliven their complexions a little bit. And I don't put on makeup that way. I'm over here with like my color corrector, my Makeup Forever liquid concealer, my brushes, my sponges, my tiny brush, I'm like, sometimes I put my Makeup Forever concealer, my Erin's Faces concealer, and my NARS concealer all in different places all over my face. Like, that's what I'm doing, right? But my friends, my makeup dummies, they're doing something totally different, and it's on my recommendation. But since I'm waving around the Erin's Faces one, I will say that I have recommended this one to people who really want coverage all over the face. Like when someone's like, I just want like a really creamy emollient skincare based thing, and they really do like, scarring or blotching, especially if it's like these big planes of the face, if they're really quite blotchy and they really do want to get something that's going to cover that. Rather than recommending a foundation, I always recommend this one from Erin's Faces because it's just so good for your skin, and it's so emollient. It looks so dewy and lovely, and it wears beautifully throughout the day. This is also a clean beauty product, right? So a lot of times when my makeup dummies are coming to me, they're like, I want a concealer, but I want it to not have anything nasty in it. I want it to be like skincare and the best of the best. So I recommend this Erin's Faces concealer a lot for that. So I'm trying to give high and low recommendations. I don't know all that much about drugstore complexion products or drugstore skin tints, but I cannot tell a lie. I'm like loving the Morphe 2 Hint Hint Skin Tint, which I'm testing out for my drugstore makeup review video. It's what I'm wearing on my face today. It's a combo of this and the one from NARS. I've worn it now every day for a week, and I absolutely love it. So because it's relatively new to me, I don't want to give like a wholehearted recommendation. And I will say I haven't recommended this to any makeup dummies. And it feels like a bit much in the same way that it's a bit much to ask someone to order from ColourPop, to ask someone to order from Morphe. But if you know that your makeup dummy is going to be going to an Ulta, they do have this in Ulta, and they have ColourPop in Ulta too. So I just wanted to put that out there because it's been a real shocker. I can't believe how much I am enjoying this, and it's at a better price point than some of the other products that I'm talking about. Glossier also makes a nice skin tint that's just absolutely foolproof for people who don't have much makeup experience, and it's designed to be applied with your hands. So that's one that I've recommended to a lot of people as well. I have a lot of friends who've bought the whole Glossier like complexion deal, the skin tint and the concealer, because they've come to me and asked what I think they should buy, and that's what I've recommended to them, and then they've bought it and they're using it and they love it. I've recommended color corrector to a lot of my friends who deal with redness, and it's great for someone who's not that interested in makeup for the same reason that it's great for me as someone who is interested in makeup but doesn't want to look like I have a ton of complexion product on my skin. It's great because it means if you use it right, and if you use it to like negate the redness in your skin, just a little sheer layer on the spots in your face where you're really red, it means that you have to use less of your actual concealing product to even out your skin tone. So I really love this one from the Sephora collection. This is like my ride or die, and it's at a great low price, $14. So this is just the one that I recommend across the board for redness. Okay, let's talk about eyeshadow. Once again, this is an arena in which I'm out here recommending even things that I've like never tried myself. So honestly, the first thing that springs to mind is those Kaja bento boxes. A lot of times when people come to me and they want eyeshadow, they don't want to like make an eye look. Like they don't want to learn how to do eyeshadow. They just want something they can put on their eyes that's impossible to mess up, that's going to make it, give them a little sparkle, right? Make it look like they tried a little bit, make it look like they fancied themselves up a little bit for like a date night or a party or something. So they want it to look fun, they want it to be effortless, and they want it to require absolutely no skill. And that's why I love those Kaja bento boxes. I have tried them in the store, like back when they first came out. I've touched them, I've put them on my eyes, I've tested them. I've just never owned one. But they're these like really, really sparkly, sheer, kind of creamy shadows, the ones that are a trio of shiny shadows that you can just apply with your finger, and they'll work for almost everyone. And you just put it all over the lid, blend it out with your finger, and it just looks stunning without much effort. And they're also only $20 for like the little pack of 3. You have a little color variety. I just think that that's a fantastic, like, one sparkly eyeshadow option for a makeup dummy. Kind of by the same token, I have frequently recommended the Natasha Denona mini palettes to friends because they're only $25. You get 5 beautiful high-end shadows, and there you have a little bit more variety, but especially the ones that are very shimmery, like the star, the mini star, the mini lila, I think has some like shimmery, maybe semi-sheer purples. The ones that lean more into shimmers than mattes, you can apply those shimmers just with your finger and then maybe even tap a matte in the outer corner. But really, it's hard to mess them up, right? Those like sheer washes of sparkly color that there often are in those Natasha Denona mini palettes. I just think if you're just gonna have one eyeshadow palette and you're not gonna wear it that often, a mini Natasha Denona one is a great choice. I have found myself on many occasions talking friends through this. Just, rub your finger in the pan of sparkly or sort of washy, shimmery shadow, just tap it all over your lid, and then just, finish with a whole bunch of mascara. Like just pile in a whole bunch of mascara and go, and you'll look great. Another option, and this reminds me to say that I feel like, so this, it actually kind of harkens back to the thing about the ABH Brow Wiz and how I don't have the same reservations about an expensive short-term staple when it's someone who isn't voraciously buying makeup all year round. By the same token, sometimes when my friends ask me, they're like, I want one eyeshadow product and it's going to be all I use on my eyes and I'm never going to get anything else. I'm going to use it up, and I want it to be fancy. I want it to be the best of the best. I want it to be special. It's almost like in some cases they want it to be expensive. Like they want it to be like a luxury thing because they're only going to have one. They want to know that it is the best and it's something that's kind of like industry approved. And so they're asking me to tell them about something like this Tom Ford cream and powder. So I think this is a great product because it's so easy to use. The cream on the bottom is very moussey. I usually would hesitate to recommend a cream eyeshadow to a makeup dummy, but this one is particularly easy to use. And it's something you can use with your fingers. It's so moussey and soft, and it dries. It does dry completely, but it does take its time drying. So you can just keep messing with it, blending it out, getting it to look great. And then it has this sparkly shade on top, which is basically just the Tom Ford version of the Kaja bento box thing that I was describing. So you can wear just the bottom, just the top, or you can wear them together. This is just the kind of thing where if you're only going to have one, if you're just going to have one eye look that you do or one eyeshadow product that's in your purse for like 3 years in a row and you just use it up completely, then why not have it be Tom Ford, right? We only have to check ourselves before we wreck ourselves when we know that we're the kind of people who buy this month because it's exciting, because it's new, but then next month you're buying a Too Faced eyeshadow palette, and then the month after that you're buying, you know, a new Natasha Denona palette. You know who you are, right? Like, we know who we are, and we know that we have to be careful. And I bought this with a gift card that my parents gave me for my birthday back in February. So I'm not out here like buying a bunch of Tom Ford products on my own dime. But if I were a makeup dummy, I would want somebody to tell me about this because it might be exactly the perfect thing. Probably the question that I get the most from my makeup dummies is about mascara. People are like, what's the best mascara on the market right now? What's the best one for me? What's the best one at the drugstore? And when I recommend makeup to my friends, and again, this is funny because I don't know if I've ever talked about this mascara on my YouTube channel, but when my friends want to buy a Sephora mascara and they ask me which one, I usually recommend Dior Show, the kind of original iconic Dior mascara. And it's partly because, similar to this recommendation of like the Tom Ford cream and powder, it's so iconic, and it feels iconic, and it feels designer, and it looks beautiful, and it says Dior on it, and it just feels beefy. It has one of those traditional big barrel brushes, like big natural hair barrel brushes. It's almost like you can't go wrong with it. The formula is absolutely beautiful. You can get a pretty simple look, a pretty wispy look if you just apply one coat, but you can definitely build it up for a more splinky look for a night out. I just feel like it's a good, classic, everyday, every person's designer mascara, like luxury mascara. And a lot of times when my friends ask me, that's what they're looking for. They're like, I want a really nice thing, or I want a really fancy mascara, but I want to know that it's one that you know works really well. And Dior Show is what I used to use before I got really into makeup, and I started like trying all the mascaras, and then I was like, I have too much mascara, and then I was like, I spend too much money on makeup. I have to go to the drugstore. It's a short-term staple. I only ever want to buy drugstore mascara. That's where I'm at right now because I know that I want to diversify like where I put my money. Like, I want to have more budget left over for different kinds of makeup, for other exciting things. So I don't want to blow $30 on mascara because I know that I'm just going to be replacing it over and over again. So I'm going to the drugstore for mascara. For drugstore recommendations, I almost always recommend L'Oreal Lash Paradise, even though it's not my favorite drugstore mascara. My favorite drugstore mascara, I think, is still either Milani Highly Rated or the LA Girl Volumatic. And LA Girl or Milani Highly Rated is great. I actually feel like it's kind of the Dior Show of the drugstore. It's like a Dior Show dupe at the drugstore. But L'Oreal Lash Paradise, I feel like, is so widely beloved. I just feel like it's the right thing to throw to people when they ask, like, what's the thing? Like, what's the it mascara at the drugstore right now? It's not Milani Highly Rated, and it's not LA Girl Volumatic, even though those are the ones that I really love for my like big gunky lashes. It's definitely L'Oreal Lash Paradise, so that's the one that I always recommend. Of course, if you're looking for a clean mascara, if you're looking for something that doesn't have anything in it that could potentially irritate your eyes, if you find that mascaras from drugstores or even from Sephora tend to irritate you, then I recommend the one from Erin's Faces. That is a really, really good volumizing and lengthening mascara formula. Let's talk about my favorite thing, which is the cheeks, the cheek recommendations. And you know, I actually would tack this on as the third thing that I will sometimes say to people when they come to me and they're like, I don't know, I know nothing, I'm starting from zero, what do you think? And I'm like, maybe consider the brow, prime your skin. And then I often will go on to say the third thing, which is like, you might get more mileage out of a blush than you think. I think that people tend to think of blush as being like a really makeup-y thing. Like, you only put it on if you're really making yourself up. But in fact, blush, I think, enlivens the skin, enlivens the complexion more than almost anything. And it can be so subtle, especially the kinds of things that I like to recommend to my makeup dummies. They tend to be blush products that don't even really look like much on the skin, or they just look like your skin is dewy. They sculpt your face a little bit, but it's very subtle, right? By putting a little bit of blush high on the cheekbones, often you end up just looking a little bit more pulled together, a little bit more snatched, and a little bit more alive and healthier, but it's not perceptibly makeup. So I often end up recommending sheer things. And I often end up recommending things that have some shimmer to them because I'm not out here telling my makeup dummies to like get a bronzer and then get a highlight and a blush and like, here's where you put the bronzer and here's where, then they're like, no, no. And then they like run the other way and then they never do their brows. I'm over here being like, here's one thing. And you can just put a little bit of it, you know, outside. So I always think of like where the iris of the eye lines up, put it out. Don't come down further than halfway through your eye. So put it out here, just a little bit, softly blend it out, maybe a little bit on the tip of the nose. Here's your one thing to do that with. One and done, and it will bring your face alive, right? So I have had good success recommending the New Drop Lumi Cheek. This is a little bit fiddly when it comes to purchasing it because I think that there's some Holika at Ulta, but everyone I've recommended this to, friends of mine, they've purchased it from YesStyle. I think that you have to get it from YesStyle. So maybe if you have someone who's like really just not gonna go out on a limb, then you wouldn't want to recommend this to them. But my friends who have gotten it, who don't wear that much makeup or who are looking for a more natural complexion enhancing thing, have really, really loved it because it's got that beautiful soft dew to it, like a really dewy complexion feeling. Doesn't really look like makeup. It really just looks like you're kind of glistening from a little bit of overexertion or overexcitement, or you're just glistening because you're so healthy, or you've been walking in the sunshine or something like that. Maybe you've been gardening. You're glistening because you've been gardening. That's kind of what this is. But that's a little bit of an out there suggestion. I think it's actually kind of an honorable mention. I should have put it at the end. Here are my like full on, straight up, very frequently recommended makeup dummies blushes. So we'll start with the powders. When someone comes to me and they're like, I just want one blush forever and I want it to be a powder blush because I can't deal with anything creamy and I want it to be just the blush, just that B, right? That blush, that one perfect mid, not ostentatious, not colorful, and it's not going to make me look like a made up doll. I have these two. I love this blush, the blush subtil. It has a little bit of a sheen in it, so it does, it's pigmented, but it's not so pigmented that you're going to mess up with it. Like it's really easy to apply. You can build it. I'm actually wearing this one today, Miel Glacé. So Miel Glacé is the one that I'll recommend to friends who have paler skin and they want this just one kind of perfect, easy blush. But friends who have deeper skin, I recommend Mocha Havana Shimmer because it's pretty much the same thing, but it's just richer. It's just deeper. I feel like this is two versions of the exact same blush, subtil blush. They both have a little bit of shimmer. It's just Mocha Havana Shimmer. Mocha Havana, what did you say, shimmer 2 times? But I think it was just the course of casual conversation that I said it 2 times. They both have a little bit of shimmer, and Mocha Havana Shimmer is just a deeper, richer color. I keep both of them because I can really sculpt with Mocha Havana Shimmer. When I'm going to be on camera, I will go in with this one. But if it's to wear in person, like to wear around, my perfect blush subtil is Miel Glacé. So if someone asks me about cream blush, then I get really excited. And I actually feel like cream blush can be a great like one and done option, especially for more mature skin, because you're never going to have that like cracking or picking up on, flakes, that kind of issue, or, settling weirdly and in a cakey powdery way over fine lines. You're going to have much less of that kind of an issue with a cream blush. And the one that I often end up recommending is from Kjaer Weis. It's a really beautiful, luxurious cream blush. This one is in the shade Joyful. And this doesn't have sheen in it, but because it's emollient, it often ends up looking really dewy and skin-like on the cheeks. So it is still that kind of one and done product. I just feel like this replaceable packaging, this refillable packaging by Kjaer Weis, it is really designed for someone who just has one blush and then uses it up and then buys it again, uses it up and buys it again. I feel like the kinds of people, the people with the profile that I'm talking about in this video, people who just don't want to mess with makeup that much, but they do want something to wear pretty much every day. I feel like that's the person for whom this Kjaer Weis cream blush was designed. Oh, I forgot to talk about Drugstore for the powder. I'm trying to do the high and the low. I feel like for powder blushes for Drugstore, I've always just recommended that people just grab something from Wet n Wild. I feel like Wet n Wild does really good powder products. So it's just like whatever color looks good to you. I liked apricot in the middle for a really long time. It's kind of fallen out of favor for me because it's got a lot of gold in it, and I don't think I really realized that back in the day. I still like it. I have a huge pan on it, and it is a nice subtle wash of color, hard to mess up. But I've also recommended to friends the Milani baked blushes, even though I've never tried one myself. I'm always just like, try the Milani ones. Everyone really loves them. You'll probably love them too. And this is probably no surprise, but when it comes to cream cheeks for the drugstore, these days I would recommend the e.l.f. What is this? e.l.f. Active Workout Ready Cream Cheek, Lip and Cheek. It's just amazing. I haven't had any makeup dummies interrogate me since I have fallen in love with this product, so I haven't had occasion to recommend it over and over again because this is pretty new to me, but it is what I will be recommending to anyone in the future who comes to me and is like, what's the best cream cheek product that you can buy at the drugstore at drugstore prices? But also the ColourPop blush sticks. Again, I feel like it's a bit much, ColourPop, but if you know that someone's going to be like going to Ulta and looking around and they happen to have them there, the ColourPop blush sticks are also really great, easy to use. Okay, let's talk about lipstick, because this is definitely an arena in which people come to me and they're like, my friends who have like no lipstick, and they're like, I want to get a lipstick and I want it to be something I can wear just like every day, just throw on, super easy to wear, not ostentatious, not difficult, feels comfortable. They're just like, I want to start wearing lipstick more, or I want to start wearing it to the office, or I want to wear lipstick on Zoom calls, but like, what's the one that I'm going to love? Because there's like a million lipsticks and it's so hard to just sort the wheat from the chaff, especially if you're a makeup outsider and you don't know. So I have a very clear recommendation for this that I always give, and that is the Bobbi Brown Crushed Lip Colors. They're so good, you guys. They're so good, and it feels just like wearing a chapstick. I just feel like this is like a cut above a Burt's Bees tinted chapstick, like those tinted lip balms. And that's what my makeup dummy friends are often like, I've just been wearing this Burt's Bees tinted lip balm for years, since I was in high school, and I'm ready to graduate to the grown-up version of that. What is it? And I'm like, this is it. The Bobbi Brown one. There's more pigment there, but the pigment isn't so intense that you are gonna like, have it all over your face. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And it's also not so intense that you're gonna feel self-conscious. Like, you don't usually wear makeup and then one day you show up at the office and you're like, oh my God. And then people are gonna be like, oh, wow, yeah, Susie, you're so made up today, or lipstick, blah, blah, blah. Like, Bobbi Brown is not gonna do that to you. It feels like it just grew there overnight. It's a little bit weird. It feels like it belongs. They're just so easy to wear, right? So much easier to wear than most lipsticks, but they really are real lipsticks rather than being some sort of hybrid like tint or balm or something like that. So I've recommended this to a bunch of friends and all of them have come back just raving, like rave reviews. It's always gone over super well. I like the shade Bear. I've recommended this a lot. I also have the shade Telluride, which is really beautiful. It's a little bit harder for me to wear effortlessly because it's darker on me, but this is a beautiful nude for a lot of people. So I think both of these are really good recommendations. So that's my number one. However, if the friend in question has asked about other things that have led us down the Glossier path, like if we're already going down the Glossier path with this friend, then I will end up recommending the Vanillic lips, because I just think that they are so wearable. With the exception, in my collection, I have 5. So I've got the like lighter 2, one's a little pinker and one's a little bit more mauve. And then I've got these 2 duskier reds, one's a little bit more blue tone and one's a little bit more terracotta. Those 4 are very, very wearable, and I'll link the colors and everything down below. Those 4 are very wearable, and I would recommend these 2 paler ones to anyone as like a My Lips But Better, and I would recommend these 2 duskier reds to anyone as like an effortless red. This 5th one that I have, which is Casino, the super bright red, like really, really bright fire red, That one is a little bit more difficult to wear. So I don't think I would recommend Casino to a makeup dummy, but I would recommend these other ones. I just find them, they don't exactly feel, and it's partly because of the name and the way that they're marketed and the packaging, they don't exactly feel like just a balmy thing or like a slight gloss. They don't feel slight. It feels like a lipstick. I'm putting it on. Oh yeah, it's amazing. And that's how people want to feel when they're asking me about makeup. So it feels like that, but the effect is very effortless, very sheer, very easy, wears off beautifully, very juicy, just really, really user friendly. So those are my two high-end recs for lipstick. My drugstore rec up until recently would have been the Maybelline mattes. And I do still recommend these. I would still recommend these to someone asking specifically for a drugstore matte lipstick. Like if someone came to me and was like, Hannah, I want a lipstick. I want to buy it from the drugstore. So I want it to be, like $5, $6, $7, under $10. And I want it to be like the color of my choice, whatever color they're looking for. But I want it to be a matte, like a straight up super matte lipstick formula. I don't want anything slippery or shiny. I want it to be like that flat matte. I would definitely recommend the Maybelline formula, the Maybelline mattes. What are they called? Intimatte. I think that's what they're called. I think they're called the Maybelline Intimatte. I love Raw Chocolate and Beige Babe, and I also love Gone Greige, but I don't know if I would necessarily recommend those colors particularly. I would just be like, go for your dreams with the color that you want, but if you want a matte from the drugstore, get the one from Maybelline. But if somebody is asking me for the best drugstore lipstick and doesn't have enough makeup knowledge or enough of a preference to be asking specifically for a matte, they just want the thing that's the easiest to wear, the thing that's going to basically be like the drugstore version of the Bobbi Brown. These days, I would recommend this lipstick from Revlon. And again, these are new to me, so I haven't had occasion to recommend them yet, but they have absolutely unseated the Maybelline lipsticks as my #1 drugstore lipstick recommendation across the board because the formula is just so good. And I do feel like this is the closest thing I've ever found at the drugstore to the Bobbi Brown crushed lip formula. They're just really lovely and emollient, easy to wear, but tenacious in their own way. They have a nice slip to them, but they're not slippery or slippy. They're not slipping all over the place. And the colors are really beautifully balanced. So I have Rum Raisin and Mink. You'll see them in the swatches. Both of these also are really gorgeous colors. Like I would go ahead and recommend Rum Raisin specifically to a makeup dummy who's like, I don't even know what I want. I just want a lipstick. I'd recommend Rum Raisin the way that I recommend Bobbi Brown Crush Lip Color in Bare. It's just a really good, easy to wear, kind of nudie lipstick. And Mink is amazing too. I mean, Mink is like this lipstick, this Revlon, they're called the Super Lustrous Lipstick. This Revlon Super Lustrous Lipstick in Mink, it's like my favorite thing right now. Oh, and this reminds me, when I was doing all the swatching, I got really into swatching out this e.l.f. cream cheek and lip palette next to all of my drugstore lipsticks because I wanted to, I like swatched this out when I was going through all the products. And then when I started swatching the lipsticks, I was like, whoa, these swatches look a lot like the e.l.f. palette swatches. And this is a lip and cheek. And the lip, they do really work for lips. So I'll show you some comparison swatches between the brown in here and Mink and Rum Raisin and one of these blush colors. And I think Bobbi Brown Bare is really similar to one of the blush colors. So that's what I'm doing in this overhead swatch footage. I'm just comparing and contrasting these colors that you can see. You can get similar looks, like you could get a similar look from either of these products or from like any one of these products. The lipsticks, the Revlon lipsticks could be used on the cheeks as well. So if you really just like that brown color, right? If you really just want that and you don't need this whole thing, then, you could get Mink and you could use it on your lips and cheeks as well. But if you really love Mink and you're leaning towards getting this palette, then maybe just try this brown on your lips first because it's a very similar color. Okay, lastly but not leastly, lip gloss. This is something I get asked a lot. What's the best lip gloss? I just want a lip gloss. And also, what's the best lip gloss at the drugstore? So for high end, I just recommend Fenty. It's so iconic. It's so lovely and juicy and satisfying to apply. It's so appealing. The packaging's so beautiful. it's Fenty, and a lot of makeup dummies, like they're dummies, but they do know about Fenty, and it's thrilling to be able to engage in, you know, the awesome thing that Rihanna has brought to the market. It's just a feel-good gloss in absolutely every way. It's a cult classic. So I unhesitatingly recommend this. I've also given it as a gift on countless occasions. Like I feel like I've given like 6 or 7 of these away as gifts, like gone and bought them for friends and given them away as gifts for friends. It's a real crowd pleaser, I feel, the Fenty Gloss Bomb. So that's usually my high-end recommendation. And for drugstore, again, this is new to me, but these days I would say the Maybelline Lifter Gloss. I feel like this is well on its way to being a cult classic. And similarly, it's just very gratifying, it's big and chunky, it's very wearable, it's so fun. Right now, I kind of feel like everyone I know is going to get one of these for Christmas. I feel like I'm just going to get a bunch of these and give them away in the holiday season the way that I have in the past done with the Fenty gloss. It's just such a good product, such a well-formulated product. But I have to give an honorable mention to the Revlon Super Lustrous, the gloss, because this is actually the one that I've recommended over and over and over again to friends. This one from Maybelline is pretty new to me, but this one from Revlon is one that it's like been a ride or die for a long time. And I will say that in order from slippiest and thinnest and sort of least impactful on the lips through to the beefiest and thickest, this one is the thinnest. It's the slippiest. It's not sticky at all. It's almost like, I feel like oily is not quite the right word. It's such a thin coat. And then it has the slickness on the surface of the coat of gloss that means that it doesn't stick together. So it ends up having kind of like an oily feeling, but it's really, really lovely and easy to wear. And then I'd say the Fenty one comes in the middle. It is kind of like thick and liquidy. It's thicker, but it's also liquidy. The Maybelline one, the Lifter Gloss, is thick and it's not liquidy at all. It really is. It's like more like a gel paste sort of thing. Like it's really, really like a thick paste of a gloss. Really lovely and gratifying to apply, but not at all like the one from Revlon. So these are my 2 drugstore recommendations, and the formulas are very different. So if you think you'd like sort of like a thick paste that's like, then Lifter Gloss. If you like the idea of a very thin, slippy layer on your lips for a gloss, then Revlon Super Lustrous is the way to go. And the fact that the Fenty one is kind of like the happy medium, like the wedding between the two, is one of the reasons why I think it has become so iconic, and that's another one of the reasons why I recommend it. Okay, we did it. That is it. What a bonanza. This was really one of those videos. I had a lot to talk about, but I hope that it was fun to watch. I really want to know what you think. So do you find yourself on the receiving end of all of these questions among your friends? Like, are you the one who the makeup dummies come to and they're like, hey friend, you watch makeup beauty YouTube, you wear makeup, like just cut to the chase. Like, what's the best of the best? I don't want to know all of the details. I just want to know what the best thing is. Do you have your friends coming to you for that? And when they do, like, what do you say? Do you find yourself recommending things that are different than what you wear because you know that their needs are different? Do you find yourself recommending things that you've never even tried because their needs are different and they're specific? Are there things that you think are great blanket recommendations across the board for your makeup dummies that I didn't mention? Like, put them in the comment section down below. Let's like brainstorm about what makeup we recommend to people when they want to know what they're gonna love using. And also, are you a makeup dummy? Like, is anyone out there watching and you're like, that's me. I only just want to know, like, what are the few things that Hannah says that I will like? If all I want is to color correct my skin and wear a lipstick, like, cut to the chase. Like, have you gained knowledge from this video as someone who is only interested in like 1 or 2 key products? I'm just so curious whether the concept of this video has flown at all with you, if it's made sense and if it's been gratifying in any way. So yeah, let me know. Let's talk. I'm going to stop filming now and get a drink of water. And don't forget to take extra good care of yourself today so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.